That puts our total number of full-time equivalent positions at the lowest level they've been since 1998, for what it's worth. We still have a lot of city employees, folks, 25,807. By the way, the number changes every day, but it's not even close to its peak. And it gives you a sense that, again, in the last decade, whatever we've done, we're back to where we were in 1998. Mayor's office led by example. Folks like Steve Cava, my chief of staff, gave back 10% wage concessions. I did the same on top of not taking that wage increase 2 years ago. We reduced the size of our number of employees by over 15.8%. We have, since I've become mayor, reduced it by over 25%. Overall, the number of positions reduced, overtime, and salary savings provided us a framework of some $64.2 million of additional savings. I'm trying to quickly add up here to that $483 million so you get a sense of how we got there. There's some controversial proposals in here. I know the board's going to take this up. The old Prop J's. None that should surprise you. Many that you've seen. Many that I know are difficult to embrace, but are important, I believe, to have a debate about, particularly when you consider if we don't do it, what else we might have to do. But for full disclosure, I want you to know that those that you are familiar with have been placed in this budget. There are no new surprises, something else I committed in those public employee discussions. We looked for creative new revenue. And here's the controversy. Turn on your camera. Not that this will make any sense to you, but to the folks inside this room, I know it will. I just, again, when I'm looking at some of the cuts that were offered me at Department of Public Health and Department of Human Services, even to the Department of Children, Youth, and Family, that I didn't want to make. And I wanted to go through this for months and months. I've worked on this budget as much or more than anything I have ever done in public life. I've been working on this almost every single day for almost a year now. And I went back and forth because I know the Board of Supervisors can't stand this. But I can't stand the alternative. Now, to the extent they find the alternative in the add-back process, perhaps they will. But this is a debate I want to have because I just think this is principled and right. That's condo conversion fees. I believe we can generate $8 million of revenue that would go to offset our general fund contribution to affordable housing and not have to make an equivalent cut in discretionary programs that disproportionately impact poor people. And for me, this is de minimis in terms of the overall housing market. I've been doing this 16 years, almost 15. I still don't get this argument completely, except it's big time ideological discussion. It's so darn ideological, I think it gets in the way of having a real discussion about what this can mean in terms of increasing revenue, not just this year, but in subsequent years, that can be used to help programs for poor people and working families and the working poor. So that's in there. I know that's going to be popular, but I believe it's an important debate. Second one is, there's a loophole. I love this. If you go out just briefly and you bulk purchase these online travel companies, it's a good deal they've got. See, they go out and they buy a bunch of hotel rooms for $100. They'll buy 1,000 hotel rooms at $100. Then they market it to you for $150. They pay the hotel tax on $100, and then they pocket the hotel tax on the difference between $100 and $150. That's a pretty good deal. And we think that's wrong. We think it's illegal. But we want to make sure the law is clarified. It's called the online hotel tax loophole. We've marked that at $12 million in terms of annual revenue, $6 million for this budget. I don't believe this should be covered. This is not a new tax. People are already paying this tax, but we're not collecting it. We think we should collect it. And I want to thank Jose Cisneros for his outstanding work on this. He has been an excellent partner in identifying this, fighting for this, and organizing around this. If Bevan was going to clap, I think you should. Beyond that, there are no new taxes. In fact, there are no new taxes in this budget. We're able to balance this budget without tax increases. but we're able to draw down $227 million of revenue without tax increases. I know some folks just prefer tax increases. I don't. I think they should be on the table in the absence of an alternative. But I think we provided ample alternatives here. And I think it's sometimes dangerous to go out and support tax increases that have unintended consequences and actually can reduce revenue in the medium and long term, and not necessarily solve a structural problem that we fundamentally need to resolve. $227 million in new revenue in this budget without general tax increase. By being creative and by focusing on leveraging resources and looking differently at revenue sources like the two others made. 10-year capital plan is fully funded in this budget. $345 million in capital is invested in this budget. We're investing close to an historic amount in repaving our streets. This is a big deal to everyone I talk to. I don't know a supervisor that, from Supervisor Mercarimi to Supervisor Avalos to Supervisor Chu, who led this task force with us, Supervisor Marr and Supervisor Maxwell, Supervisor Duffy, that doesn't get complaints about potholes and pavement. $50 million. It's close to an historic amount of money. Thank you, Ed Reekskin, for your hard work. 400 blocks, brand new blocks will be paved. We support this budget, and 150 of them will be maintained. We invest in disability access. We invest in new Balboa Park improvements. We invest in the veterans buildings, some seismic safety work that needs to be done there. And we are going to build on 10 key public projects. Treasure Island is very close to moving forward. Central Subway is moving forward. Doyle Drive, with $100 million federal stimulus, is happening. The Water System Improvement Program is happening. Transbay Terminal, that $400 million of stimulus, that's taking shape, and we're about to tear down that old, ugly facility in August and begin the process of replacing it with a world-class Grand Central Station out here on the West Coast. Terminal 2 at the airport will finally be done in this new fiscal year. We've got open space improvements for Central Waterfront, the Exploratorium happening at the waterfront, Hunters Point. We have an opportunity to step up to the plate and right the wrongs of a generation. This presents itself this month. San Francisco General Hospital, real progress is being made. And if we're lucky and we are supported, we'll have another $412 or so million to improve our fire stations, police stations, and the auxiliary water system. We hope that folks take a good look at that on their June ballot. So those are just 10 highlighted projects that generate thousands and thousands of jobs in this new fiscal year. All projects that we are proud of, all projects that are taking shape, and all projects that will be supported by our capital plan with general fund contribution and non-general fund support. Workforce development is another big part of the enhancements in this budget. You can't have an economic development strategy without a workforce development strategy. We put in 5 new community benefit districts that we want to fund. That will bring us from 1 5 years ago to 15 at the end of the fiscal year. We have investments for 3 new neighborhood marketplace initiatives, a big initiative that's going to support our efforts to revitalize the central market area. We have a new healthcare academy. Supervisor Maxwell has been working on it, building on the legacy of City Build, and a new, what we call Train Green Academy, keep changing the name, which we're excited about. And the City Build Academy should provide an additional 1,000 folks some comprehensive workforce training. Here's some great news. Summer employment for kids. A lot of folks concerned about it. We are going to increase the number of placements by 50% in this year's budget. This is a big deal. From 1,100 slots to now over 1,700 slots. You know, we tripled the number of summer camps. Mrs. Counter, this is not supposed to happen. Yet we're getting creative. Thank you to Hydra Mendoza, all her support she's provided, DCYF, Maria, and to the entire board. You guys have been, I mean, on me on this as much and more. It's interesting. Everyone asking what's going on with the summer programs. And so thank you for keeping all of us honest and keeping us engaged. The Bridges to Success and the Summer Youth Employment Program will be enhanced with MyEap and YouthWorks. And by the way, there's some good news for YouthWorks and MyEap in this budget. We'll get to that in a moment. Jobs Now, 3,005 human beings have the dignity of work. Thank you to Trent Moore and his leadership. Here's the good news. We just got last week the appropriation out of the House for a $2.5 billion enhancement. If the Senate agrees, this is a staggering number. If the Senate agrees, we will be able to draw down $154 million into our local economy if the Senate concurs. That's how big a deal this Jobs Now program. Over half of those employed are African Americans. We have almost 1,500 people throughout diverse communities of this city